Hey, I'm Dodie Williams, and I'm going to talk to you guys about Evan. My son Evan is 5. He has Down syndrome and regressive autism. So what is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is also known as trisomy 21. Evan has a third copy of his chromosome 21. Most folks only have 2. This chromosome is responsible for many things and can affect people differently. 50% of Down syndrome kids have a heart defect. Luckily, Evan does not have that, and we are very grateful. We found out that Evan had Down syndrome at 1 day old. So what were the signs? His ears were slightly lower, and the folds of his ears were slightly flat. His eyes have a slight fold on the inside, and each hand has a line completely across it with no break in it. His big toe is slightly apart from his other toes, and some Down syndrome folks have a very thick back of the neck, but Evan did not have that. So children and adults with Down syndrome share a lot of common features, but naturally the individuals more closely resemble their immediate family members. A DNA test, blood test, did confirm that Evan does have Down syndrome, and Down syndrome is not contagious. So what is regressive autism? At age 3, Evan knew his colors, he knew several letters, he sang words to songs, he did all the motions. But between ages 3 and 4, Evan stopped talking, he stopped singing or signing, and he started stimming on toys, and stimming is short for stimulation. So he would do a lot of things in repetitive motions such as shaking toys and not playing with them in the proper way. He was recently diagnosed with regressive autism, and he's currently on a waiting list to receive ABA therapy. This is a form of behavioral therapy for him. And regressive autism is also not contagious. Evan's now 5 years old. Since he was 1 day old, he received some type of therapy. He currently receives speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy that are both in the school and outside of the school. He also had an early interventionist from age 2 months up until age 5 that would visit him in the home for an hour a week. And he goes to school from 7:40 a.m. to about 10:30 a.m. He is in a self-contained special needs class with a teacher and an assistant. They work on 4K curriculum, such as colors, numbers, and letters. He goes to PE and music once a week with the other 4K classes. So if you're adding it up, that's 7 therapists and 4 teachers that he sees every week. We call those his girlfriends. So what is speech therapy? Speech focuses not only on speaking, but all things related to the mouth and communication. At 1 day old, Evan would not suck on a regular bottle or latch on, so a speech therapist at the hospital worked with Evan with different bottles, and he finally took one that was geared more for a cleft palate baby. Speech therapists also work with Evan's protruding tongue, and they use devices such as the Z-Vibe. Down syndrome babies are typically born with a smaller mouth, so their tongue appears to be slightly larger. And Evan even learned some basic sign language by the time he was 1 year old. He knew words like more and all done and milk, and he is now working with the speech therapist on an interactive device. It's similar to an iPad. He may not always say the words, but he can point to the correct item when asked, and he can communicate in other ways, such as taking our hand to the pantry and pointing out which item he wants to eat. He has also used the PEC system, which is a picture exchange card system, to exchange a picture for whatever item he wants. And one interesting fact about Down syndrome kids is that 98% of them have an ear infection by the age of 2. Because their ear canals are very small and the severity of infections, they can have a very high rate of speech impediment and hearing impairment, which leads to a speech impediment. So this is another great need for speech therapy. So what is occupational therapy? Well, OT focuses more on everyday skills. Evan's OT works with him on self-sufficiency, such as self-feeding, holding a spoon, chewing one bite at a time. You may think this is related to the mouth, so maybe it's a speech issue. And many times the OT and speech overlap, especially with feeding issues. Evan's school therapists often combine their therapy and work with him on skills together. Evan's OT is currently working with him on holding a crayon and drawing lines. She also works with him on self-dressing, such as taking on and off his shoes. So what is physical therapy? Evan has hypotonia. This is a decreased muscle tone. His muscles are very strong, yet he does not have full control of them. So sometimes he appears to be weak. His PT focuses on his muscles and getting Evan to use them in the right way. As an infant, this included balance and head control. In fact, one of the tools we used from 8 months to 12 months old was a helmet to help him properly shape his head because he was not rolling over and getting that proper tummy time. As a toddler, PT included making Evan sit properly, such as not in a W shape, using a walker with wheels to take some of his first steps. And one fun fact about kids with Down syndrome is they are usually hyperflexive. This means Evan is very flexible, and he will often just put his feet up on top of his head because he can. He's comfortable. He does not have a full sense of safety, so he avoids simple things like jumping. He does not jump. He's currently working on going up and down stairs safely, jumping, and on balance. So what makes Evan the same as other kids if he has all these different therapies and differences? Evan loves ice cream and playgrounds. If he sees a slide on the playground, he's going to make a beeline straight to it. He can learn to do things that other kids do. It's just at his own pace, and it's not always consistent. Evan loves music. He loves being outdoors. And most like other kids, he can be very stubborn when he doesn't want to do something. So while behavior, mental ability, and physical development vary from person to person, many individuals with Down syndrome and regressive autism can grow up to hold jobs, live independently, and enjoy normal recreational activities. So that's a little bit about Evan.